Episode number 38. Disappointed, K took the letter, and put it in his pocket. Even at best, the advantage he might derive from this recommendation was incomparably smaller than the damage that lay in the fact of the manufacturer knowing about his trial, and that the painter was spreading the news about. It was all he could manage to give the manufacturer, who was already on his way to the door, a few words of thanks. "I'll go there," he said as he took his leave of the manufacturer at the door. "Or, as I'm very busy at present, I'll write to him. Perhaps he would like to come to me in my office sometime." "I was sure you'd find the best solution," said the manufacturer. "Although I had thought you'd prefer to avoid inviting people like this to the bank, and talking about the trial here. And it's not always a good idea to send letters to people like Tito. You don't know what might happen to them. But you're bound to have thought everything through, and you know what you can and can't do." Kay nodded, and accompanied the manufacturer on through the anteroom. But despite seeming calm on the outside, he was actually very shocked. He had told the manufacturer he would write to Tito only to show him in some way that he valued his recommendations, and would consider the opportunity to speak with Tito without delay. But if he had thought Tito could offer any worthwhile assistance, he would not have delayed. But it was only the manufacturer's comment that made Kay realize what dangers that could lead to. Was he really able to rely on his own understanding so little? If it was possible that he might invite a questionable character into the bank with a clear letter, and ask advice from him about his trial, separated from the deputy director by no more than a door, was it not possible, or even very likely, that there were also other dangers he had failed to see, or that he was even running towards? There was not always someone beside him to warn him. And just now, just when he would have to act with all the strength he could muster, now a number of doubts of a sort he had never before known had presented themselves, and affected his own vigilance. The difficulties he had been feeling in carrying out his office work, were they now going to affect the trial too? Now, at least, he found himself quite unable to understand how he could have intended to write to Tito, and invite him into the bank. He shook his head at the thought of it, once more as the servitor came up beside him, and drew his attention to the three gentlemen, who were waiting on a bench in the anteroom. They had already been waiting to see Kay for a long time. Now that the servitor was speaking with Kay, they had stood up, and each of them wanted to make use of the opportunity to see Kay before the others. It had been negligent of the bank to let them waste their time here in the waiting room, but none of them wanted to draw attention to this. "Mr. K," one of them was saying, but Kay had told the servitor to fetch his winter coat, and said to the three of them, as the servitor helped him to put it on, "Please forgive me, gentlemen, I'm afraid I have no time to see you at present. Please do forgive me, but I have some urgent business to settle, and have to leave straight away. You've already seen yourselves how long I've been delayed. Would you be so kind as to come back tomorrow, or sometime? Or perhaps we could settle your affairs by telephone. Or perhaps you would like to tell me now, briefly, what it's about, and I can then give you a full answer in writing. Whatever, the best thing will be for you to come here again." The gentlemen now saw that their wait had been totally pointless, and these suggestions of K. left them so astounded that they looked at each other without a word. "That's agreed then, is it?" asked K, who had turned toward the servitor bringing him his hat. Through the open door of K.'s office they could see that the snowfall outside had become much heavier. So K turned the collar of his coat up and buttoned it up high under his chin. Just then the deputy director came out of the adjoining room, smiled as he saw K negotiating with the gentleman in his winter coat, and asked, "Are you about to go out?" "Yes," said K, standing more upright. "I have to go out on some business." But the deputy director had already turned towards the gentlemen. "And what about these gentlemen?" he asked. "I think they've already been waiting quite a long time." "We've already come to an understanding," said K. But now the gentlemen could be held back no longer. They surrounded K and explained that they would not have been waiting for hours, if it had not been about something important that had to be discussed now, at length, and in private. The deputy director listened to them for a short while. He also looked at Kay as he held his hat in his hand, cleaning the dust off it here and there, and then he said, "Gentlemen, there is a very simple way to solve this. If you would prefer it, I'll be very glad to take over these negotiations instead of the chief clerk. Your business does, of course, need to be discussed without delay. We are businessmen like yourselves, and know the value of a businessman's time. Would you like to come this way?" And he opened the door leading to the anteroom of his own office.